Lite and Pro and this new version, one of them is navigating. So you'll see throughout the system, they call these hamburger menus, the 3-line menus here, and it shrinks. You'll notice when you go in there, you won't be able to see the full menu. And they did that because they wanted one simple version that works on every device. So it'll look the same way if you're using your iPad, but we don't want to take up the whole screen, or maybe also if you're using a Surface or a smaller laptop. They just wanted to make it really easy to use. So if you're wanting more information or you can't tell what all the different options are, just look for those hamburger menus throughout the system, click on them, and it'll open right up. Now this menu over here on the left-hand side, this is the main system menu. If we just take a look here at the different options, the first option is the dashboard. And as we go through, you'll see the second icon there, the little house, is for transaction desk. That's a list of all of your transactions that you've ever had. Authentisign, also a list of all your signings that you've ever done. Instinet Forms is not that commonly used. It's just a list of, you can quick grab a form outside of a transaction. Most people find it most helpful to go into and create a transaction so that all of your forms and documents are linked to that transaction. But if you just wanted to go and grab a single form, you can do that under Instinet Forms. The next icon down there looks like a box is DocBox. The system does have unlimited document storage as part of your Northwest MLS account, so you can go in there and store anything that you'd like. The next one down is the Task Manager. It does have some different calendaring tools. Those are sort of an advanced feature if you're interested in that. Broker tools are available to super users in the system, and those are all the different office tools to manage your office features if you're a designated or branch broker. It also has Instinet Fax in here, which is a faxing system. You're able to fax to any fax number. And contacts, all of your contacts are already in this new version. So you're able, like I said before, you can toggle back and forth. So everything that you've done is going to be available in both the old version and this new version. Setup is where you can go to customize your account. And you'll see that option to switch. And switch is where you can go back to the Pro or Lite version. If you get stuck in the middle of something, you can switch at any time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and focus here on the setup section. So under the setup, and remember you get to this by when you first get into the new system, you just go over there to the left-hand side. That's going to be the system menu, and you can click on that gear icon, which will get you into all of your settings. So I was mentioning the Quick Start groups. Quick Start groups are groups of forms that automatically add to your transaction based on the transaction type. So for example, if you're putting together a residential purchase and sale agreement transaction, you can go to your transaction and you can already have Form 21 and all of your comment addenda forms, inspection forms, everything that you would need there for you automatically. So that feature is still here in this new version, except it's called transaction templates. So I think that's an important piece I wanted to make sure that you knew about. If you do have Quick Start groups set up, you can just come right into this new version, click on Setup, click on Transaction Templates. They'll all be there for you, and you can edit them or delete them or change them as you'd like. Now, you may notice in there that some of them can't be edited. If your office has put together Quick Start groups for you, you'll see them in there. They'll be showing under your transaction templates, but you won't be able to edit them. So if you do have edits that or suggestions for your office, make sure to pass that on to your designated or branch broker or office staff so that they can go in and they can edit it for the entire office. If we keep moving through, I also wanted to show you here under Setup, there's Return to Previous Version of Transaction Desk. So that option there is where you can go ahead and flip back to Lite or Pro. And to get back to the new version, you just go up to the top. You'll see that same icon to get back into the new version. And you can use that toggle to get back and forth anytime you get stuck until you feel really comfortable with this new version. There's another option in here I wanted to mention called data migration. If you log into this new system and you don't ever go back to the old version, you don't have to worry about this. This option for data migration is only if you're switching back and forth from this new version to the old version. And then in the old version, if you go in and you adjust your settings. So, for example, if you change your quick start groups in the old version or something like that. If you notice something isn't right, like you had a quick start group set up one way in the old version, you come into the new version and your template isn't matching that, you can come in here to the setup and click data migration, and it's just a resync. It will go ahead and sync them up so that they match again. But again, you don't have to worry about that unless you go back to that old version and you make changes to your quick start groups. All right, let's go ahead and move on into creating a listing transaction. First thing that we would do here in the new version of Transaction Desk, over on the left-hand side, you're going to have those action buttons, and you'll see that one of them is Create Transaction. So I just go ahead and click Create Transaction, and it's going to take you to this Create Transaction screen. And you'll notice this is very similar to the current version of Transaction Desk, the Lite and Pro version. So here for the name, you would just go ahead and type in however naming structure you use now, whether it's the address or the client's name or whatever you prefer. Now for the template, this is, I was mentioning the Quick Start group is what they refer to it in the Pro Lite version. Because we haven't gone through that yet, I'll go ahead and leave that as a no, but that is where you would add in automatically the different forms and documents that you have created in a template. So we'll go through that later in our next example. So I'll choose no. Next one down here, I would need to choose the type. So I'll choose residential listing. And then import data. And this import data feature is a great time saver for listings. If you haven't used this before, you can actually import from Realist. So if you're working with a client and maybe they have a very long last name, or you just want to save yourself some time not having to type in all of their information, this feature will pull over their name. It'll pull over the property address, and it'll even pull over a little bit of information about the home to save you some time. So I'm going to go ahead and choose yes. Next, it will want me to pick my source, and because it is a residential listing, I want to choose Realist, pull it right out of the tax records to make sure it's the most accurate information. So when I choose Realist, you'll see it'll want me to type in a tax ID number, which is a very long number. A lot of times you may not have that memorized or written down anywhere. So over there to the right, it's kind of hard to see when you're using the system, but you'll see a tiny magnifying glass. This allows you to do a search. You can search by your client's address, and it'll just pop in the tax ID for you. So I'll show you how this works here. All you'd have to do is type in the county, pick it from the list, and then the street number is the house number, and the name of the street. So the trick with this feature, less is always more. So don't put in anything other than the house number and the name of the street. And then click Search Tax Data there at the bottom. If it is a condo, you may see there's a long list here of all the different matches based on that house number and the name of the street. In this case, there's just the one, but if you did have a long list, you would just select the correct one and then click Select in the upper left. And you'll see all that did is it popped in the tax ID number so that I didn't have to go through a Realist and find it and write it down. Okay, last thing here on the page, it has Add Me As The, and it will automatically guess based on the type. In this case, it's a residential listing, so it's going to add me as the listing agent. But if I wanted to, I could click that drop down and I could pick dual agent or anything else I needed. And you'll see the very last option there, Use Wizard. It will automatically be checked for you, and we recommend go ahead and leave it checked. It's a great feature. It's a nice time saver, and I'm going to show you how to use it right now. So here at the upper left, I'm going to go ahead and click, upper right, I'm going to click Create, and it'll take me right into that wizard. So I was mentioning this whole idea of a wizard. What it is a step-by-step process, and you'll see up there at the top, there's a previous and a next, and it's just walking me through 5 easy steps that will help me with filling in all of my transaction information. So first step, property detail, and you'll see based on the Realist records, we do have some information that filled in for me automatically. It has the street number, street name, the city, county, state, year built, tax ID, so a few things that to save me some time. I'm able to edit and add anything here that I want, And then if I know the listing price now, I can type it in and it will fill in all my listing forms for me. Or if I want to fill it in later, I can actually fill it in on the form, and everything in Transaction Desk is linked. So it would then backfill to this step 1 for me automatically just by filling it in on the form. So that's nice to know down the road. If you ever need to make an edit, you can come right back in here, make an edit. It will edit on any forms where that field appears. Or same thing, fill it in or change it on a form, and it will backfill here into this step and onto any other forms in the transaction where that field appears. Okay, once you're finished here with this page, you would just follow these steps using the wizard. So in the upper right, I'll click Next. And that will take me on to step 2, which is filling in the transaction dates. So at this point in the transaction, I may or may not even have a list date yet or the listing expiration date. If you know them now, you can fill them in and they'll fill in on the forms. Or because I may know these later on when I'm meeting with my seller, you can always fill them in on the forms and they'll backfill here later and onto any other forms within the transaction. So for now, let's say I know them. I'll put in a couple of dates. And here in the upper right, I'll click Next. Now, the third step is the contacts in your transaction. And you'll see it will automatically know your listing firm, and you will be in there as the broker because it knows from your Northwest MLS account. So you'll see here it would also have your seller if you brought them over from Realist. So let's say, for example, my seller, they want their middle initial or they don't want their middle initial, or I just want to add an email address or change something for them. To edit my seller's information, I just click on their name. And what it will do is pull up a pop-up window. You'll see for the type, it already knew it was the seller. I can then edit their middle name if I want to. I can add an email address for them, which will allow me to use Authentisign. And there's even a checkbox for Add to Address Book. Maybe I'm going to also find Sally Seller a new home after she sells hers, so I can keep her in the system, and that way I don't have to remember her email address in the next transaction for her. So Add to Address Book if you wanted to save her information. And you'll see at the top there's a couple of additional tabs I just wanted to walk through. The Preferred tab here at the top, this is for Authentisign. So Authentisign is the electronic signature system. Not required, but it is integrated and it's very easy to use. You can send it to your client and they can sign forms, on their computer, on their iPad, on the go, really easy to use. So sometimes your sellers may have, or your clients in general may have preferred names or signatures, even initials. For example, maybe Sally Seller wants her preferred initials to be STS, or maybe she has another name in there, another initial she wants to add. You can actually fit up to 5 initials. And this is also, it could be used in other situations too, or like in a trust or a corporation, something like that. Preferred name is however you want it to show up on the form. Preferred signature is how you want it to be signed in Authentisign. And preferred initials is how you want it to be initialed in Authentisign. And if you don't fill anything in, it will just use what's on the General tab. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the upper right and click Save. And if I did have a second seller, I'd be able to click Add there in the upper right, and I could add in all of their information. But today, let's say that it's just Sally Seller, so I'm going to go ahead and just click Next. And that'll move me on here to Step 4. So you'll see here on Step 4 for forms, it's telling me empty, that nothing is here, and that's because I didn't add a template. If I did add a template, I could have a whole list here for me ready to go, but I did want to show you how to manually add the forms in case you hadn't created a template yet. So we're going to move to the upper right and click Add New. And this is organized in folders, the same way that we have it on Express Forms and in Transaction Desk Now. So I would go ahead and just click on Listing Selling Forms, or there's even a search here at the top, and this search actually works by keywords as well. So if you don't know the numbers of the forms, you can just type a keyword on there and it would go ahead and pull it up. So all I have to do here, once I find the form, is just click right on the name of the form. You'll see over on the right, it would then check the circle saying that it's selected. And I would choose Add in the upper right. And that would give me a list here of all the different forms that I included in this particular transaction. Okay, so to fill in a form, it's the exact same as we have it now in the Pro Lite version of Transaction Desk. You just simply click on the name of the form. It would open it up, and you would continue down, filling in all of the fields. I was mentioning before, everything is linked, so if you change it on one form, it would then change on all of the forms. And then to switch from form to form, you want to go all the way to the top and click Transaction Forms. And this is a nice shortcut that a lot of people don't know about. So when you click on Transaction Forms, it's going to give you a list of all of the different forms included in the transaction. And all you have to do is click on the next one, and it will automatically save the form that you're on and open up the next form in the transaction. So it makes it very simple and easy. You don't even have to hit save. You just switch from form to form and continue on with each one. So transaction forms, I'm going to go ahead and choose it again. And let's just say as an example, I filled everything in on my 1A and my 1 and everything else. And now I'm here to the Form 17, the Seller Disclosure Statement. Now this particular form, when you open it up, it will always be blank. Nothing on that form fills in, and that's because it's supposed to be filled out by the seller. So a great feature in Transaction Desk is that you can actually email Form 17 to your seller and have them fill it out electronically. So you can send it to them, they'll type it in, you can finish your forms on your side, and then once they're finished, you can send everything over to them in Authentisign, and they can sign it all at one time. So if I wanted to go ahead and email Form 17, all I have to do here is go ahead and check it over there on the right-hand side. You'll notice it's the only form I have checked on the right. And then up at the top, I would click on the email envelope. Here on the email form page, you'll see I have two different options, send as attachment or send as link. So send as attachment would send it as a blank PDF, and they would have to hand fill it in, and then they would have to either scan it and send it back to me, or they could fax it back to me, or just give it to me when I meet with them. But the new version here has a great feature for send as link. And what I could do is choose Send as Link, choose Allow Changes, and then choose a date I want that link to expire. And what this will do is it will send them a link via email with a note, if you'd like to write them a note as well. And they would click the link, fill in the form, they would save it, and when they save it, it would actually update in my Transaction Desk account automatically. Now, some of our members were concerned about, well, if I allow changes and then they keep that link in their email, what if they go in a week later and they make a change? Now, you will get an email notification if they do that, but they went ahead and added this link expires on feature where you can turn it off. So if they click the link after a specific date, for example, the list date of the home, it would then not allow them to get in and make any of those changes. So you have full control as to sending the link, allowing them to make changes, and when you want that link to expire. So I would go ahead and fill those in. You'll see for the name, there is an icon over on the right. Another great feature in the new version, this is linked to the transaction. So rather than having a huge list of all of your contacts, it's just the one for this transaction. So just choose them. Their info would pop in, and you'll see here there's even a place to add a little note. And then to send it out, in the upper right, you'll see the checkbox. I would just click that, and it would give me a confirmation everything's been sent. All right, so let's say now we've filled everything in. We sent that link over to them. They're filling it in as well. So I want to go ahead and exit out of the forms and move on to that final step of my transaction. So to exit out, what I want to do is move all the way to the top, click on File, and under File, I'm going to go down to Exit. Remember, I was mentioning there is a save. You don't have to save because when you change forms, like I was showing you by going to Transaction Forms, it's going to save automatically. But if you do ever walk away from your computer and you don't choose File Exit, you do want to go ahead and choose the Save option. I'll just show that to you here. Right here, there is a save. You only have to use it, though, if you don't exit. Because if you walk away from your computer, it may time you out. But file exit will auto-save. All right, so now I'm done with my forms. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my final step, which is uploading any documents that I would like to have included in this transaction. And you can upload anything at all that you'd like, disclosure statements, marketing materials that you might have, even images. You can upload anything at all to keep everything in one space here for your client or for the transaction. So to add something in the upper right, I click on Add New. Lots of different ways here that you can upload into the system. But if you just click in that blue area to upload a file, you would navigate through your computer, choose the file that you want, and hit Open. And you would see it's right there on the page. And if you ever wanted to, you could go ahead and click on it, and it would give you a preview in the system. Okay, so now I've added my contacts, I filled in my forms, I uploaded any other documents I wanted to include. So now I'm done. So you'll see that next button is now replaced with Done. And it will take me to a different dashboard called my Transaction Dashboard. So this Transaction Dashboard, if you take a look here at the screen, it's just giving you shortcuts to everything that you just did. So you'll see in the upper left, the detail overview. It gives me a nice overview of everything I put in. There's even a link to go to details if I need to edit something, and I would automatically edit it on all the forms. Next box over for my contacts. You'll see a list there of all my contacts. I can click on any one of them if I need to make an edit, or you'll see the Go to Contacts link. I could go ahead and click that to, if I wanted to make see a full list of everything in the Contacts section. Forms, quick links to get in and edit a form, or go to Forms to see a list of all of them. And then you'll also see For My Documents. So from here, I need to decide what I want to do next. Do I want to print these forms? Do I want to email them? Or do I want to use Authentisign? And I know there may be different clients. You want to use the system in different ways. So I'm going to show you all of those today. So most important thing to remember from the webinar today is once you're done here with your transaction, to move to the next step, you need to click on that hamburger menu in the upper right. So this hamburger menu on the upper right, this is your transaction menu, and this will keep you within your transaction. So if we take a look here at the options, I can get back to this dashboard. I can get back to the property detail, make an edit there, add a contact, go add or edit my forms, my documents, and there's even some different advanced features here, a checklist and some tasks. That's something that could be set up at an office level. Signings, there's a history in here of everything that you've done, and there's a couple of other features that our members had wanted us to add, so they're in here, service orders and call logs. Those are just for your own information, for tracking purposes for yourself. For example, if you just wanted to make a note that you called your client or you called for the inspection or anything like that, you just click on call logs and you could add a note to yourself. Okay, so let's just say that in this particular case for these clients, I wanted to print these forms. I would go ahead and click on Forms from my transaction menu there on the right. I'd see a list of all the forms in my transaction. You'll see there's a check all box, or I could simply go over to the right and only check the forms that I'd like. Once I have them all checked, what I'd want to do here is click on the basket icon, and this is where all the advanced features are. So if I click on the basket, you'll see all kinds of options here across the top, these different icons. And a nice feature here, you can hover over the icons and they'll tell you here what they are. So you'll see there's one for signing in Authentisign. There's a box for adding something to Docbox. I can make a zip folder, I can print them, I can create a PDF, I can email them, I can fax them, and I could delete them out of the system. So just as an example, let's say I want to send them via email. I just click on that email envelope, and it would give me a list here of all the forms that I included, and you'll see at that section how to send. And it will default here to send as attachments, which I would probably always want to do, because in this case, I want them, these are the final signed documents. All I would want my clients to do is print them, sign them, and get them back to me. I'll also show you Authentisign in a second if you'd prefer to send them and have them signed electronically. So if I did want to send them so my client could print them out, send as attachments, I would go ahead and click the icon to look up my client, choose them from the list, and hit select. That would auto-fill in all their information. And I'd be able to add a little note here to my clients about, what to do, print them out, sign them, and get them back to me. And I would click send. And I could go ahead and send them out of the system. So I will show you next year how to use Authentisign. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew today you have all those same abilities that you have in the Pro Lite version. You can print, you can create PDFs, you can even merge and do all kinds of other things. All those features are done under that basket icon. Okay, so next, let's say that instead of printing, we were just going to send this through Authentisign. Over on the right-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and click Signings. And because I'm there on the right, this will be only for this particular transaction. So you'll see it'll tell me empty because I haven't created one yet for this particular transaction. So I'll move to the upper right and click Add. When I click Add, you'll see here for the signing name, I can create any signing name I want. I may have multiple signings for each transaction, so I'll call this one Listing Forms, and save. And then it will take me right into Authentisign, and Authentisign is exactly the same as it is in that Pro Lite version. So step 1 in Authentisign is where I can choose the participant order. It does remember the last one that you used. Sign in line is where it will send to clients one at a time. If the first person hasn't signed, the second person won't get it. So that's why a lot of people prefer SimulSign instead. SimulSign will send out to all of your clients at one time, all the different signers if you have multiple sellers. And whoever signs first, signs first. Step 2 for participants. This is where if I click on the transaction, they'll automatically be pulled over based on the information that I had in my transaction. So I'll say Sally Seller, she's a remote seller, and add. And if anything was wrong here, for example, if I forgot to put in an email address for her when I first added her to the system, you would see right here I would get this big red hand icon and it wouldn't let me move forward. So you would just click right on her name again here and you can make any edits that you need to. In this case, everything's set up. So I'm going to go ahead and just move on to step 3. Step 3 is where you're adding your forms and documents, and you'll see that's the first option here in the list. I can click it and I'll get right on into all my forms and documents. And if we take a look, here's everything that I had filled in. You'll see over on the right, it's going to tell me, is it a form or is it a document? So forms are the forms that I've filled in. They're not ever going to be signed. They're always editable forms. DocBox means anything that I uploaded into the system. So that could be a signed form down the road, or it could be a disclosure pamphlet, it could be images, it could be anything. And depending on how you use Transaction Desk, you may have a very long list here, so you're able to change the name of any of these in your transaction to make it easier for you to see which one is which. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose everything. I'll click Add. And it'll give me a list here of everything, and I could reorder any of those if I wanted to. Okay, step 4, design. If I click on step 4, you'll see anything that is a Northwest MLS form will automatically have the signature and initial blocks and the date blocks as long as it's a form that is very clear as to who's going to be signing it. If it's a form where either the seller could be signing it or the buyer could be signing it, like different forms in the different inspections and things like that. It may not fill in. So there is a drag and drop option that you can use there in the upper right, and you can drag and drop anything that you need. Okay, so after I had gone through, double checked, made sure everything was okay, I would click Next at the top, and it would give me an option here to customize the subject in text if I wanted to, if my clients were first-time signers using Authentisign, or I can just click Send Invitations. It would give me this confirmation everything's been sent, and it would take me back to my Authentisign home page. So a few tips here about Authentisign that some of our members haven't seen before, so I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of them. You'll see here for each of your different signings, it's going to have an icon and a status that will relate to that icon. So this lightning bolt means it's in progress, so everything has been set up, it's sent out there waiting for them to sign. Once they have signed, it will turn into a certificate icon and tell you that everything's been approved. And then if you're still working on it, if it hasn't been sent yet, it will have a gear icon there and tell you that it's still in the wizard. And at any time, you're able to click on the name of the signing, and you can open it up and see all the details. So the listing forms signing that we had just sent out, you'll see here on the screen, it gives me a little bit of information. It'll have my participants in there and some different icons I wanted to walk everybody through. So one option here for the client here, I can edit their email address, and I can edit this at any time, and it will automatically send out an updated link for them. So if you make a typo, they didn't receive it or something, you can double check that you have the right spelling and edit this, and it will automatically send out an invitation to them. Over here on the right, you'll see authenticated and signed. This clock icon means that it's still waiting, and eventually it will turn into a flag icon showing that everything's clear, that they have signed. Up here at the top is a resend. So if for any reason they didn't get it, you just want to resend it, try it again, you can click that icon to send them another copy. CC for carbon copy, you are able to add a CC participant until everyone has signed. So if you ever wanted to add on another person just to get a final copy of everything that you had set up here after it's been signed, you can do that at any time. Reset. This is a really neat feature that a lot of people don't know about. We get a lot of phone calls about this. If you see a typo on one of your forms and you want to stop it dead in its tracks, you don't want your clients to sign, you can click this reset option. And reset will basically call it back, where if your client, in their email, they click the link to open up the signing, it will tell them, sorry, this has been reset, and it would give them your contact information. So if you ever need to recall it and stop it in its tracks, that's how you do it. And the great new feature here in this new transaction desk is that everything is linked. So even though I'm here in Authentisign, I still have that transaction menu icon here in the upper right. I'm still within the transaction. So at any time, even now, I'd be able to click on that menu and I could get back to my forms. I could get back to my documents. I could get back to my contacts, and I'd be able to make all of those edits in my transaction. And once I had done that, all I would have to do is click back on signings, get right back to this signing, delete out any of the old forms or documents, upload the revised ones that I just fixed, and quick send it out again. So it's a lot faster because everything's linked, and you can always use this menu over here on the right to quickly get back and forth between your signings, your forms, your contacts, your documents, anything that you need. Okay, so this is what it would look like once everybody had signed. You'll see there for my client over on the right, it'll have the flag saying everything's been authenticated and signed, and I'll have a link here for their final document. Now, they'll get an email as well. I'll get an email. It'll be automatically uploaded within the transaction, and then I also have the link here in Authentisign to that final signed document. So it's available to everyone involved in a variety of different ways. Okay, so now that we talked a little there about listing transactions, I wanted to move on to templates, and then we'll talk about a sale transaction. So if we take here a look at templates, to create and look at your templates, what you'd want to do is when you first get into Transaction Desk, click on the icon over here on the left-hand side for your setup, and then click on Transaction Templates. All of your different quick start groups that you may have set up in the Lite Pro version will be here automatically for you. And if you may notice here, if one of them is not letting you edit it, it might be an office one. So you can always mention to your office if you have a suggestion or a change or something, and they'd be able to edit that, and it would show up automatically for your entire office. Now, if you wanted to make a new one, you can always click Add in the upper right. And you see here on the transaction template, there are 5 sections to it: detail, checklists, contacts, documents and folders, and forms. So if we take a look here at the detail, this is going to allow me to make a name and a type. Now you'll see at the very top here, I also have an ownership. That's something that would be at an office level. So the office can set one up for the office, or you can set up your own personal templates, whatever you prefer. If I do make a change here, I would just want to click Update to save those changes. Another quick note, we recommend always choose the name based on the type. Otherwise, it can be confusing as to when you need to use each one. You can create as many of these as you need. So let's say, for example, you work in a few different counties. You can have a residential sale King. Maybe you have the King County septic forms or something like that in there. Maybe you work with particular investors or banks or whatever it may be. You can create multiple residential sales, however many that you need, multiple of all of your different templates to make it as easy to use as possible. Okay, so let's say doing a regular residential sale today, I'll click Update. I would save it. For my checklists here, this would be set up at an office level. So I'm going to skip over that feature today, but check it out. If you had a checklist, you'd be able to go to the right, click that plus sign, and you'd see in the system right away if your office had anything set up. If not, you could just skip over that. For your contacts, this would be if you would like to set up a contact every time you create this particular type of transaction. So perhaps there's a title insurance company that you use for every transaction, and you would just like that to autofill onto a purchase and sale agreement for you or something like that. You can add them in here, and they would automatically be in your transaction every time. For your documents and folders, this is where you can click either Add Document or Add Folder to help you to organize. You can add, this whole foldering system is built into the new version. But Add Document, I would have all these options here, but if I click in that blue area, it would just take me to my computer. I can navigate through, and if I have a disclosure pamphlet or certain marketing materials or anything else I want to have included, you can easily upload those in here to your template so that they show up each time. And lastly, your forms. This is the best time saver. So here for forms, over on the right, I would click that plus sign. I would have a list here of all the different forms, and there's also a search option if you wanted to use a search. So you would just choose all the different forms that you would like to have included, and I would click Add up at the top. So it's always, I think, a nice thing to do. Add more than you would use. You can easily delete these out of your transaction if you're not going to use it for that particular transaction. But at least that way you don't have to search through and try to add if you're going to add it all the time. And I'll show you how to delete. It's very easy. So add anything you think you might need, and then if you don't need it for that particular transaction, you can always delete it out. So I'll click Add. Now, as soon as you add, you'll see a list will show of all the different forms, and you'll notice it auto saves. You don't have to save. You don't have to do anything. You can just go back to your dashboard, and we can move on, and I'll show you how to now use this template in your sale transaction. Okay, so to create a sale transaction, you can actually start right in Matrix, and this is a great time saver if you haven't been using this already. It'll pull everything over. It's very, very easy to use. So here in Matrix, let's say I want to write up an offer here for this house in Auburn. I would move, and here below the picture, you'll see this transaction desk icon. You just click on that icon. It will open up Transaction Desk in a new window for you, and it would automatically take you to this Create Transaction screen. And most of it is all filled out for you. You don't have to worry about all the details like you do with a listing transaction. So you'll see it picks a name for you based on the property address. For the template, this is where I'm going to go ahead and choose the one we just created, the residential sale. You'll see that for the import data, it will automatically have this in here based on Matrix, so it'll have the listing number in there for you automatically. And for the agent option here at the bottom, because I chose residential sale, it will guess that I'm the selling agent, but I can always pick dual agent. There's different options in there. And all I have to do is click Create. Okay, when I click Create, I'm taken right back here into the wizard, that 5-step wizard that'll walk me through the transaction. So you'll see everything's pulled over from the listing. If you notice a typo in here or you need to make an adjustment to the information, you can change it right here. And if I wanted to add in a purchase price that would fill in on the forms, you'll see that's at the bottom. If I want to fill it in on the forms, I can just click Next, and we'll add it in once we get to the forms. Step 2 are the transaction dates. So whatever I fill in here will fill in on the forms. And again, you don't have to fill this in. You can always fill it in on the forms, and it will backfill here later. I'll click Next. Step 3 for the contacts. This is my favorite thing about this icon on the listing. Everybody's here except for your buyer. So it knows who you are. It knows who your firm is. Because you clicked from the listing, it knows who the listing firm is and even who the listing broker is. So, and the seller. All you really have to do is add in your buyers. So to do that, in the upper right, I would click Add. And it gives me a few options here. I can create a brand new contact, or if I had worked with this person in the past, I could add an existing contact. Let's just say I added a brand new contact. I would just type in their information. I'd have to make sure that I pick the correct type, and this tells the system which line to fill them in on. So in this case, I'm adding in my buyer. I can add in their information however I'd like it to show. I can type in their email address if I want to use Authentisign, and then click Save in the upper right. Okay, so now I'm done. It was really that easy filling in contacts because everybody else was automatically here for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next in the upper right, and I'll move on to Step 4, Forms. So because I picked that template, you'll see the 4 common forms here that I chose in my template are here. I can always add more, or I can delete out the one I don't need, or 2 or however many I don't need. So for example, if I didn't need Form 22J, the lead-based paint, maybe it's a newer home, over on the right, you'll see 3 little dots. If I click on this icon, this will give me the option to delete. Now, when I delete it, it will only delete from this transaction. The next time I add that template to a different transaction, this form will still be there. So if I ever want to edit the actual template of the list of forms that automatically show, I can go back to my setup and set that up. But anytime I need to delete it for a particular transaction, I just come right here, click on those 3 dots, and I can delete it out. If I needed to then open up my form, go ahead and click on the name of the form. I would fill them all in. Remember, you click Transaction Forms to switch from form to form, and File, Exit to exit out. And I know I'm going a little bit fast here in this. This is we wanted to make it just a quick hour for you to learn all these features. I'm going to show you here at the end, we have all the different resources we have. We have 2 great clock hour classes. You don't have to get clock hours if you don't need them, but they're great. It'll be 6 hours, and it'll walk through step by step everything we're going through today. Okay, so next, here at the top, final step, documents. Now, because I uploaded my disclosure pamphlet into my template, you'll see it's here for me automatically. I can always click Add New in the upper right if there's additional things I wanted to add for this particular transaction. And when I'm done, I just click Done. That gets me right back to my dashboard. So the most important thing here to remember when you get to your dashboard, to move on to that next step, go to the upper right, click on the hamburger menu, and that will open up all the different transaction options. So if I wanted to print or email the forms, I could click on Forms there on the right-hand side, Documents to upload additional documents. If I want to now send this through Authentisign, you'll see the option for signings, and I'd be able to go ahead and upload all these, create a new signing, and send that off. And then the different advanced features that I mentioned today as well. You can view your history or service orders, call logs, different things you can do if you think it will save you some time. Okay, a couple last things I wanted to mention to you, and then I do see there's some questions, so I'll make sure to answer those today too. There are some advanced tools in the Pro Lite version that I just wanted to show you in case you use them, where they are. So here on my transaction dashboard, up at the very top, there's another set of this 3-dot icon. If I click on those 3 dots, there's some great features in here that are really nice to know about. So one of them is a share option. I don't know if you noticed earlier when we were in setup, that was the gear icon there on the left-hand side of the screen under my setup options. I can create a share group. So if you're co-listing or co-selling with someone else at your office, you can create a share group and then share this transaction with them. And then it would actually show up in their transaction desk account as well, so that they could edit it. And there's different levels there. You can give them access just to see it or to edit it. It's all up to you, and all those are under sharing. Another advanced feature here is notes. And notes is where you can add notes for yourself. This was just an advanced feature members wanted us to add, so we worked with Instinet to get that added into this new version. Duplicate is another feature here that is nice to know about. Let's say that this home sale, this purchase and sale agreement does not go through. And now I want to pull this information over, and I want to create a new offer for my clients on a different house. I can click duplicate, and you would notice when I did that up at the top, it would say 123 Main Street duplicate. And I could then go ahead and import data. I would let me type in a different MLS number, and it would then override all of this information. So if the sale, the purchase and sale doesn't go through, their offer doesn't get accepted, you can go ahead and duplicate this whole thing. It'll still have all the forms, how you filled them out. All you'd have to do then is do import data, switch the MLS number, and it would then create a brand new transaction for you. You could rename it here at the top, double check, and make sure it has the new listing information in there and all of that, that everything should just switch over for you when you import data. There's also an archive feature in here. And let's say that the offer did go through, all this is a done deal. When I'm done with everything, I can click archive, and that will make a PDF file of everything that I did for this transaction. And it will include all of the history, every time I emailed something, every time I uploaded something. Every little piece would be here. So then I could save that either here in Transaction Desk, or if you save it in a different place at your office, you could do that as well. So that archive feature is great for just making one easy PDF of everything that you've done. Okay, so a couple last things here. I'll show you customizing your dashboard. It's a great feature. When you first get in, I was mentioning earlier, we have these different boxes here on your dashboard. Over there on the left, you'll have your quick buttons, and then over on the right, you'll have these different display panels with quick links to get to everything you've used. So first thing you do to customize this is click the lock icon there in the upper right to unlock it. And you want to show your widgets here. You'll see across the top, they would all display. Anything grayed out is already on your screen. So let's just say I wanted to add this create button. I would just click, hold, and drag it down, let go, and you'll see here in the beginning, it's kind of crazy. You just click, hold, and drag everything into place. Now, if there's a feature on your dashboard you don't use, like checkboxes, checklists, you would just click the X in the upper right of that widget box, and it would disappear. So you get everything the way that you want it, all organized. You can even stretch and pull these boxes to make them longer or shorter, depending on what you'd like to see. And then the most important thing is when you're finished, go back up to the upper right and click that lock icon again. And that's because if you do ever open up the system on your iPad or your laptop that has a touch screen, or even your phone, if you don't lock them in place when you're using a touch screen, they'll get all crazy again, and you'll get in and it'll look like this. So just make sure when you're done moving them around, you go ahead and lock it. That'll lock it in place, and that way when you are using a touch screen computer or your phone or your iPad, they'll all stay exactly where you want them to stay. Okay, so I hope that this webinar was helpful today. I do know that it went a little fast, especially if you haven't used Transaction Desk before. So I just wanted to mention all the different resources that you have available to help you to use this system. We have a lot of user guides. So sometimes you're in a situation you just want really quick step-by-step with some screenshots about a specific scenario. So if you ever need that, when you first log into the Northwest MLS website, just click Support. It's in that teal bar at the top of our website. When you click Support, you'll be right there in Transaction Desk. You'll have a whole bunch of user guides. You'll see there's another option within Support. There will be different tabs. You can see video tutorials, and these are great. We even have this one recorded if you wanted to watch it again. We also have different in-person classes that you can come in and take. They're all different locations throughout Northwest MLS. So instead of clicking Support on our website, you just click on Classes. We have Transaction Desk Basics, and that would be for brand new users. If you don't know how to use Transaction Desk, you're a first-time user, take that one. Or if you've already used the current version, you just want to know the differences and get started with these different advanced features I went through today, just sign up for the advanced version, Transaction Desk 2 Advanced, and it'll walk through all those features. And we also have remote question-answer sessions. That's also available in our classes section on the NWMLS website. And lots of great tools in there. We can walk you through. You sign up for 30-minute sessions with one of our trainers. We'll call you based on the phone number that you enter when you sign up, and we can help you out with any questions that you have in your account. We can even share your screen with you to walk through different scenarios. Okay, so I did receive a few questions here today, so I'm going to go ahead and just read through those and make sure I'm able to answer everything. So there was a question today about adding in an agent's name. So I'm guessing that that was, remember in the transaction when we were on the Contacts tab in the transaction, and you're able to add that in just by going to the upper right of the screen. You'll see that plus sign with the Add button, and it'll have a variety of different options in there of who the participant is in the transaction. So you can add in if there maybe there's a the other broker or the firm, you need to make any edits, you need to add a second seller, any of those things, they'll all be available in that menu for you. So lots of different options in there. Now, if somebody is automatically in your transaction, for example, when we clicked from Matrix and it pulled over the listing agent and the listing firm, you can click right on their name. You just click on it. It'll open it up. And it will give you all the different options in there, and you can make any adjustments that you need to. Another question, does the seller disclosure statement automatically update when sent to a client and they complete it? So it does. So what will happen is when you send out Form 17 to your seller, it sends them a link. As long as you check that box, send as link, allow changes, and remember you can put a date in there if you want for when you want them to not be able to access it anymore. And once they click the link, it's going to open up in a client version of that forms editor we were in. They can fill in all the fields, and then all that they have to do is go to the File menu and either choose File Exit or File Save. And when they do that, it will automatically update in your Transaction Desk account, automatically within that transaction. It also sends you email notifications along the way, too. So if you were wondering if they opened it, boom, you'll get that email. Yes, they've opened it. Here's what they filled in. It gives you lots and lots of information via email. And you can even talk them through it over the phone. Another resource, I was talking earlier about the user guides. When you go onto our website and you click Support up at the top, you'll be in the Transaction Desk user guides. One of the options there on the left is called Client Resources, and we have some different tools in there for your clients if you ever wanted to include something to help them with some of these different features. Another question here, can other team members access a transaction? This is where you can use that share feature. So if you are working with, co-listing or you're co-selling with somebody else at your office, you can create a share group with them. So you would do that under the setup. And then under the setup option, you would then choose a share group. You could go ahead and create that, and then within the transaction, you could share it. Now, something else to keep in mind, if the person is a super user, they're able to automatically switch into anyone's account in their office. So you wouldn't have to worry about creating a share group if the person was a designated broker, branch broker, or an office staff person that had been set up as a super user. Let's see here. Another question. Best way to keep executed documents in the transaction folder. So, question here. So, I think the best way to do that is once you have things that are signed in AuthentiSign, as long as you've sent them from within the transaction, it'll know that it's in that transaction. It will automatically upload for you back into the documents section of your transaction. And this new transaction desk, what you'd want to do is select the different documents. You can click on the basket icon, and there's all kinds of tools in there. You can make folders and all kinds of other things in there to help you to organize things better. So, maybe you have one side signed the documents, not the other. You want to keep them in there. You can create a folder system in your documents to keep better track of those. Let's see, another question. Is there a way to create or populate a listing input sheet from a listing that has already been input? So that's actually a feature that we are working on right now, so it should be later available here later in January. It does follow the same rules as Matrix right now, so you would only be able to import if it was your listing. If it was from someone else, then no, it wouldn't let you pull over the information. But you can pull it over from Realist using that Realist import, which is a nice time saver. Let's see, how do you make the listing live after you've saved the transaction? So once I'm in Transaction Desk and everything's been signed, everything's done, you can go to your listing input sheet, Form 1, and up at the top of your listing input sheet is going to be a button that will allow you to upload the information to Matrix. So you click that icon, and then what you do is go into Matrix, and you would go into the input, and you would see it there as an incomplete listing. So once you have your incomplete listing, you would go ahead and you could make any other edits that you need to, upload your images, upload your supplements, and then just go ahead and change it into active. So that button to shoot it over from Transaction Desk into Matrix is on the listing input sheet, all the way at the top, and you'll see it's the only form that has that button for the import to Matrix. Okay, another question, can I upload the listing from Transaction Desk? Directly into Matrix. Yes. So you definitely can upload the listing using that same feature I was mentioning. So it's on the listing input sheet. Once it's signed by your sellers and you're ready to go ahead and put it into Matrix, you just go to the listing input sheet in Transaction Desk, and you'll see that button up at the top to go ahead and send it to Matrix. And then what you'd have to do, go to Matrix, and in Matrix, go to your input tab, and you would be able to go ahead and make it active, add your pictures, add your supplements, and everything else. Okay, well, those are all the questions that we have for now. If you have any other questions, please feel free to send them over to education@nwmls.com, and we'd be happy to go through that in more detail. And again, give us a call anytime if we can help you, during a transaction. And I hope that all of our different support materials are helpful for you as well. User guides, video tutorials, or of course the in-person classes are always great because we can actually sit down and go through your account with you if needed. So thank you all for attending, and again, feel free to reach out to us, education@nwmls.com, if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.